Wonderful. Hey guys, I'm so excited you're joining us. I'm looking at all these people. I'm seeing Rose and Julia, Buddy John. I love this, Regina, Melissa. What was that old television show when we were little kids that they would look in the magic mirror and say, okay, never mind, I'm aging myself. You don't, Jeffrey's pretending he doesn't remember, pretending. Okay, I'm really excited tonight. We have Carter running our webinar this evening, and the issue of chronic cardio. We have 245 people registered for the webinar. We expect about, we're going to get about 85 that are going to show up. So that's kind of exciting. And we get another 100 that watch the recording. So we will watch our swear words. Okay. And what's really nice is I want you all to move your mouse, if you would. Go down to the bottom of the screen. You're going to see a green share button. Please go over to the chat box, and I would love you to type in where you're from. Hi, Bobby. Bobby just said, hi, Sarah. So if you would, John Tracy is from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've got Julia from Arizona. It's really great. So type in where you're from. And the best thing is we did turn off your video and we did turn off your sound, but we would love you to write questions in. So if you have any questions pertaining to particular demographics, age groups, body parts, blah, 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 keep it clean, but definitely type it in. I've got people from Rosemont, Los Angeles, Orlando, Michigan, Glenview, Illinois, Alabama. Oh my gosh, you guys are coming in. Maryland, from all over. This is fantastic. We love this. New York City. So we're going to start with talking about the issue of chronic cardio, and I'm going to introduce my friend Jacquees. She's awesome. And if I'm telling you, if I ever get sick, she's taking my job. I'm dumping it on her. She's amazing. She's got her master's in education, and she's also got a bachelor's degree. She's an international presenter, a published author. She's a speaker that's been in the fitness industry for 28 years. She's owned a facility. She is a master trainer from Mashup, Tabata Boot Camp, Fluid Strength, blah, blah, blah. She believes in behavioral change. She's an amazing woman. We're very excited. Welcome, Jacquees. And we have Andrew Gavigan, who's been a presenter with us for years, and we haven't been able to see his pretty face for the past couple of years because of the pandemic. But Andrew will be with us at California Mania, leading our personal training certification. He's a recognized speaker throughout the fitness industry. He's a master trainer, and he serves as Director of Education for Active Solutions. He's the founder of MostFit, which is a small line of unique workout equipment. This is very interesting. He's NASM certified, NFPT certified. He's actually now getting a degree in psychology. He's a very well-educated gentleman, and we just adore him. And then, unfortunately, I have to have my friend Jeff Howard on. Jeff leads the SCW Group X certification and the Aqua certification. Big believer in cardio. He's an international presenter. He's been in our faculty for years. He's also, believe it or not, on TV as a trainer for Bravo's popular Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I've seen him on. He's fabulous. We love this. We love to get a good representation of what personal trainers really are and what we should do. So this is fantastic. He also owns a fitness studio and a streaming channel, Jeff Howard Fitness. So he's got the Athletes Club. So we just love this. We've got Carter Anderson, who works with SCW, who works in our registration division and also helps with a lot of our technology. And we've also got Max Cyril on, who's helping with as our developer and helping. So we're just going right in. So the idea is cardio is the easy default for anyone just beginning their fitness or weight loss journey. We all know that people think all you need to do is run and you'll lose weight. There are many benefits of cardio, but there are a lot of misconceptions that can hurt our clients' progress. You know, what is their individual progress? And our panel of experts are going to dive into misunderstandings of cardio, along with how to implement it properly in your routine to maximize your own weight loss, your client's weight loss, and just in general your physical health. So Jacques Weiss, I'm gonna start with you, girl, and we're gonna talk about the most common misconceptions that we see with cardio.
Okay, I'll start with one. One of them is that people think it's a weight loss answer. So, as far as weight loss goes in cardio, you need everything. So, not just the cardio. The cardio is great, but it is not a weight loss answer. You need a combination of things. So, you need to have some strength building. You need to have some cardio and different types of cardio. So, there are different levels of cardio. We have low impact days, we have high impact days, high intensity interval training where we really get up there and on a hit day, for instance, working on, let's say, not necessarily a hit day, let's say I incorporate some hit into my routine. That is something I can't do the following day because a hit is a type of exercise where you can do more, or no, I'm sorry, less, short amount of time, but you get more bang for your buck. But it's really hard on the body. So you cannot do it all the time. So that's another leading right back into another misconception that people say, oh, I do hit all the time. That really helps me. Well, hit is really great. Two things. We have to make sure it's really truly meeting the science behind the hit. And a hit, we can't do it for 60 seconds. So if someone told you that they can do a 60-second hit, that's not true. You cannot maintain that level of energy. You're in an anaerobic zone. You're 95% in your maximum heart rate zone. Not possible to do that short and sweet. And the following day, you don't do a hit, any kind of hit exercise, because you may have an increase of injury. So it's harder on your body. So that's two big ones, weight loss and people that think they can do hit for their cardio
Yeah.
only.
And
So
I see what you're saying. And the one of the hardest things is, as instructors, we're getting jammed and they're putting it on the schedule all the time. Because in Instagram, it was that hit, literally a hit. And you could get the most, the most people liking and sharing and blah, blah, blah from putting a hit program on. And we were chatting about this before we turned the camera on. One of my pet peeves is the 22-year-old who's not certified as a trainer or an instructor and showing all these moves and how to do it. And then you get, a 45-year-old woman at home trying to do this, with the dog in the way and the coffee table, and she hasn't exercised for 3 months, and it's a little scary. So, Jeff, I know you were talking also, what are other misconceptions about cardio training that are out there?
Well, I mean, let's face it, the first get to go, everybody puts on a gym shoe and they go running and they think it's great. But guess what? If they've not done it and they're deconditioned, they're not going to feel great and they won't do it again. That's my problem with people just picking it up and going. And a lot of times when they're deconditioned, guess what? They're a little overweight. So now we've got overweight, we've got joint issues and all these other things. Um, I think that people perceive that if they just do cardio, they're going to be thin. And they might be thin, but they're also going to be soft. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of our people that just do cardio, they might be leaner, but they don't have any muscle. Their body actually is very soft for the lower body, their bums and their legs. So we need to do a well-rounded program. It's funny, I talked to my mother, she's 86, and she's put weight on, of course, because she's 86. And my sister, who doesn't do fitness, she sells insurance, told my mother to do 10 jumping jacks a day. And I'm like, my mother can't even, she walks with a walker. I'm like, no, why are you asking her, first of all? And that's just it. It's kind of what we're saying. I suggested more things like this: going to get the mail, walk down to get the mailbox, take her shopping, Dad. You take her shopping, she'll get some cardio. And that's how we would start slowly. But I'm just saying, I think misconception is they think cardio is it. But if that's all they can get in, I'm not going to say I'm not a fan. I'm okay with that as long as they move. That's
And Andrew, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you work with a lot of clients.
Yeah, and I would strongly agree with Jackie's perception that people use it as a weight loss tool, and for good reason, because exercise is confusing, and frankly, we as an industry confuse them as much as we can by oftentimes trying to offer the right option. There's no right option. I think we all know that as professionals, that there's many options, they all work, but humans try to avoid ambiguity. And one of the biggest barriers related to that is identity. And I'm not going to get too deep into that in the forefront of the conversation, but a huge barrier to access is that lots of people don't see themselves as somebody who does this type of exercise, or I'm not a person who lifts weights. And identity matters, it matters a lot. But they're going to build up an identity as someone who doesn't do that, and they're simply not going to do that. And we can provide them better ways to access different types of exercise. If we can reduce the barriers, both the tangible and the perceived barriers, hopefully it's going to be a lot easier for people to make those behavior changes that we as a community want them to, we as an industry want them to. First of all, weight loss is not always the most important aspect of exercise. That's a big barrier we face. Secondly, you're whoever you want to be, and you can be fit for whatever reason you want to be fit. Let us help you do that. That's an important barrier we need to break down, I think.
And you know what's interesting is people come to us. Jack Reese was the first thing you brought up. People come to us for weight loss. And we as trainers and teachers and instructors have to encourage them that this is wellness, that exercise builds immunities, that this does, and Andrew, I like that you brought up identity, because I think we've been kind of lost for the past 2 years. And people now are coming back to clubs. The mask mandates are being lifted. They've been made to be optionals. We've moved California Mania. It's completely optional if you want to wear a mask because local county regulations are allowing this. It's really nice to see this. And I think we're getting these people to come back. And maybe they've been doing great training in their homes or walking throughout their neighborhoods. I remember when people started going back, I almost got resentful that I would walk my dog and there were actual cars. What is going on here? Like, I loved the peacefulness of walking my dog, out the house and then, on the beach, whatever. So it is pretty interesting. Jacquees, if you're going to look at those misconceptions, if you're going to look at somebody who says, I'm coming to you for weight loss, how do we coach them to understand that, abs are made in the kitchen, all right? That's where they're made. You ain't going to get a six-pack by jogging, like Jeff said. So how do we coach them?
Well, I personally start with the mindset and trying to transform that mindset to understand. My big thing I have on my studio wall is fit is a feeling, because it goes back to the wellness. It goes back to how do you want to feel. Let's not focus on the weight loss. I don't have people get on scales. I don't have people constantly trying on different clothes to see if they fit. It's all about, let's get into a routine. Let's start on the ground level. Where should we start? So of course you do some analysis and you figure out exactly what their objectives are, and you get them started in a way that's going to excite them. I'm not going to kill them. I want them to have fun. I want them to realize that this is fun and that we are going to take baby steps. I have a challenge that I do at the beginning of every year. I used to do 90 days, and that does not work because the first 2 weeks, what happens? Everyone's excited, then they stop. So when someone approaches me with something regarding with weight loss, again, I go back to the mindset and we take chunks. We go baby steps. Let's start here. Start with some small changes, because small changes are cumulative effect that are magical. And then they have these small wins, and then the magic begins. And then they realize, then I can start sneaking my things in, saying, okay, here's the benefits of this, this, and this. So also with this comes education. We as fitness professionals, think back in the day, it was more of, do this, do this, do this, which is just this list. But it's so much deeper. And so you have to go deep into their objective. What's their why? Why are they here? And work from there. Work from the heartstrings. I am a heartstring kind of girl to get into the science part. I have to get there first, to the heart. And I think it works magic. So a big thing for me is for them to realize how they are going to magically feel once they begin feeling fit, because that's attitude.
And that's really interesting, because I read an article in the McKinsey reports. I love the McKinsey reports, and they were talking about lifestyle changes and life coaching. And life coaching is getting to be is huge. Like Andrew, you said you're doing the psychology degree, and Jacquees, you specialize in behavioral change. And I think it's so important that we do focus on that. And Jeffrey, I know when you're teaching the Group X program, it's interesting. You get that first 2 weeks of clients coming in, but if we as instructors and trainers cannot maintain that creativity, we've got to keep them engaged for at least like 10 weeks until they really start experiencing a change and go, wow, I do feel better. But if we only give them the wow in the first 2 weeks and then they're drifting away, so we've got to keep them engaged. What are some of the things you do, Jeff, that you keep your clients coming in?
Great question. I think, like the panelist said, education is the key. Letting them know the reason we're doing what we're doing. Lower body exercises, heart rate will go to 120. That's a fat burning zone. We don't have to be running to burn that fat. We can do it through body training. And you almost see a relief in their brain that they don't have to go running for an hour, that if they do lower, but it's educating along the way. I think doing different movement patterns, they don't know what's coming towards them, makes their minds think. Remember, they're so intelligent. And so as people, educate them along the way. They've heard so much from social media, but you are the leader. And I think changing up movement patterns is the key. In group exercise certification, we have drills that you coined: direction, range of motion, intensity, lever length, and stability. Any exercise that you do standardly and you change it by one of those acronyms will change the way the body responds. And that will change. They don't know what's coming at them, but I will say this: personality, making it a community, those are why they come back. If you give them, I give them time to chat at the end. They always want to do a picture if it's someone's birthday. They want to, but we cause that mentality. I cause that mentality. I get new people that come all the time and I introduce them to everybody. And it's behavioral. Then they have a good time, because let's be honest with you, what we ask them to do is not fun. And so we have to get them to kind of buy into it. If they're having a good time and seeing their friends, they're going to be there. But we also have to check up. Where have you been? I got kid things. Get it. Go ahead.
What are some of the primary benefits that you find implementing cardio in their routine? And I think, Jeff, there are people that are cardio junkies. And
You're one.
Shut up.
You are.
I can shut off your camera like that. But seriously, what you brought up is, if somebody does enjoy it, have them walk one day. Have them, try intermittent running one day. Try to get them on an elliptical. There's so many.
Well, see, that's just it. I mean, a lot of us at PT are people, maybe we get them twice a week, maybe 3, and on the off day, we want them to do cardio just because we know it's safe. They won't hurt themselves. But we always try to recommend, instead of them doing 30 minutes on one machine, do 10 minutes on 3 different machines. Change it up, walk the stairs, Clients are loving this combination on a treadmill now for 20 minutes, going at a 3 rate, 13 incline. They get the same burn they would do if they were running, but it's in a safer thing. And let's face it, the body adapts so quickly that we know enough cardio-wise we can have them do in a safe manner. The time will go faster. We just have to change it up. Swimming, great way to do cardio. With change, you get change.
Andrew, you were kind of nodding your head.
Yeah, to Jeff's point, switching it up, changing the modality of cardio certainly helps to keep people a little safer from overuse injury. And it also keeps them motivated. I know that people thrive on novelty sometimes, but I also know that people thrive on successes. So it is important, especially when they're not with you, depending on what type of person that is. You might want to give them something simple to achieve, right? We want to challenge people to a certain point. Different type of characteristics and different type of people dictate how much you need to challenge them. And that's where our job becomes an art form, and that's fine. But got to keep people safe, got to give them novelty. And at the same time, you have to give them success. And sometimes the feedback they're looking for is a feeling during their exercise, which also sometimes instigates too much cardio, right? I have to feel sweat. I have to feel heat. Those are the only things I learned that are successful feedback. Well, that's where we can come in and hopefully teach them different types of feedback from different exercise, and even provide them with different goals that they can use as feedback. That's one of the things you learn in different behavior change certifications or different health coach certifications, is you don't necessarily have to change the outcome. You just have to change the client's perception of what their goal is. you are allowed to move the finish line for your clients. They're not dumb, you can't trick them, but it's okay to move that finish line. And it's more than okay to add numerous finish lines along the way. The more people reach finish lines, the more they get positive feedback, the more they're likely are to participate in whatever that activity is. Not to, I realize it sounds pretentious to drop books, but I'm going to do that. Grit by Angela Duckworth and Positive Psychology, or Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. They're both psychologists who.
Carter, can you put the link to those books? Could you repeat the names, Andrew? Everybody loves that type of stuff.
RIT. Literally, she does studies on grit, which is great. And these are not self-help books. I know some of us don't like to read those. I know some of us specifically like to read those. These are based on the research that these doctors did themselves. Angela Duckworth was actually a student of Martin Seligman. His book is called, pardon me, it's called Learned Optimism.
Oh, pull it out. Let's see it.
Yeah, I pretended like I saw it when I said the name, but I don't know where it is.
You don't know where it is.
There's a lot up here.
There's a lot of books up there. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Jacquees, what do you think? We got a good question from Sandy. What about doing pyramids? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's fun. I think it's, again, we want to engage. We want to encourage people to come back and have fun and realize, to me, that, okay, Jeff, you said exercise isn't fun. It really is fun for me. And I want people that feel that excitement that I feel. So I think pyramids are really fun. Again, though, you have to make sure the exercise that you choose in that pyramid makes sense to ensure that you decrease injuries. So I think when you're devising or putting together a program, you have to think of the science and the objective of what you're trying to achieve. So I have time when I'm teaching, I might say today we're doing steady state cardio. We have some strength training. So when they're doing a particular exercise, I want to make sure they're not getting breathless, because I don't want you getting to an anaerobic zone. So I'm going to communicate that. So if your pyramids are great, it just, again, has to be, you have to consider the science behind your objective. What's your objective for that day? Little strength training. So I like the full body. I love, Jeff, you mentioned it earlier, where you get a little bit of everything in one workout. And so you have your strength training, you have maybe a little mind body. So you just have to literally devise it where it makes sense science. And that's what I teach on a lot, because I do see a lot of these novelty things and people are throwing out things and they don't match up with the science and the way the body moves, the way the body works. We cannot have complicated moves. We have pyramids, or we have certain types of...
Can you explain to us what a simple pyramid would be that someone might implement as a trainer or a teacher?
Okay, let's see. Squats, we can do a lot of squats. So maybe that's at the top of your pyramid, because you can do a lot of squats. But you can't do a lot of push-ups. Everyone cannot do a lot of push-ups. That's a little more laborious on the body, a little more stress on the body. So maybe when you, somewhere on your pyramid, you're going to have maybe 10. Make it where it makes sense to your audience as well. So you have to consider who's in your class. And that's another huge thing. So if you're going to create a pyramid exercise, realize every move is not for everybody. So therefore, devise it in such a way that it does meet the people that are your audience. And we have different people, different bodies. So we do have to communicate how it should be executed. Hey, you can do this push-up on the wall on your knees, on your toes. So you can, I don't think there's a right or wrong to a pyramid. I'm trying to think what else. We have push-ups. We have, let's see, what else? Tell me, whoever asked that question, what kinds of things, what moves do you love? Because your pyramid can be based on what you love, but again, make it science-based. Make sure there's no overuse on the shoulders. So you can't do a bunch of things with shoulders on your pyramid. You don't want any injuries. So it's just a matter of setting it up to make it make sense and use multiple body parts and not overuse.
And Andrea, I'm going to shift a gear just a little bit here. How can we know if someone's using an improper amount of cardio?
Yeah, I think the first thing you're going to do is just recognize certain injuries, right? You know, foot injuries, knee injuries, and I'm not your best resource for those types of injuries, although we all have access to those answers through our industry groups. you're going to want to watch out for that. You're also going to want to watch for certain body mass index changes that might be in the wrong direction. If someone's trying to maintain muscle and lose fat, but they're losing muscle, perhaps they're doing too much cardio. Perhaps they're not eating right, but you're going to, try to help them to come up with the proper conclusion. And then, of course, if you have a client who works out with you a lot or is tracking their progress, you'll simply note whether their workouts consisted of what you prescribed or they simply ran on a treadmill for an hour. Of course, that takes a little bit of honesty between your client and you. But remember, of course, that we want people to exercise and we want to work with their biases in order to help them change. We don't want to rub them the wrong way because that, of course, might produce like a backfire effect where they, instead of listening and learning from us, leave and do their own thing anyway. So we got to be careful when we notice those types of things.
Yeah, or worse, they quit altogether.
Right.
Because they think they've got to do something they don't like. Jeff.
Well, I want to add to what Andrew's saying. I think that any kinds of good behavioral that we've all been saying, every client is different the way they are wired and what their response is, and they will kind of tell you what they need. I have clients when they do cardio, they take a picture of it and they send me the finished machine of how much time it was and where it was at. I have clients lately that have been offering me, if they don't show up, they want to pay me $50. They make a commitment, they come up with it. They're monetary motivated. And it's this weird thing that you're going to find that your clients and people in general are motivated in different ways. Some people like positive reinforcement. Some people want treats. Some people want to pay you money for not doing what they should be doing. It's this weird place we're in right now that I've never experienced before. But it truly is behavioral, and they'll tell you. It's very interesting about that as well, I think.
So Jeff, are you finding that people are more committed to seeking inspiration and from you and a connection with a live person?
Absolutely, it's changed completely. I'm getting so much more rapport that way now that if I could PT more hours in a day, I would be booked. To the point that now I'm just like, I'm only offering this and this, and taking it away from people have made them want it more, but they're definitely wanting it, and they're wanting more of an interaction.
Now, have you been able to shift some of your personal training clients into small groups to make it more financially viable for you?
Yes, absolutely. And I've told the groups, like I'll do a small group, 8 people max, that's what it is. And I make them pay up front at the very beginning of the month, and I kind of leave it that way, and nobody can come in over that. And I bring people that are the same fitness levels together that way. And I found it very successful because people are wanting definitely those prime times of 7 o'clock in the morning, or the moms and all that. But it's a shift now that COVID is kind of 2 years in. It's a shift that's gone the opposite way, I feel.
And Jacques, are you finding more people want to come back live, and is the small group working for you?
Well, my situation is this. I had a brick and mortar, and when COVID happened, I went 100% on Zoom. My lease ended in August of 2020. I said, nope, I like the Zoom thing, and I've been on it ever since. So when we're talking about engaging, I tell you what, I have to work overtime. I have to ensure that people are super safe. So I have a small group training still actually on my Zoom. So I have a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's a little tiny group, and that's really for their level. So they're kind of on the same level, kind of like what you're doing, Jeff. And then I have my regular group classes and my personal training, but it's all on Zoom. So little different dynamics.
And it's still working.
Amazing.
The Zoom is still working. You haven't found it.
It's amazing. And I have to, earlier you said the word community. That's another biggie on my wall. I have community, unity big, because that's what that group part is all about. And so I make very special accommodations to ensure we get on early, we say hi, we get started, I let them know what we're doing, how they should feel. So, because now I'm not right in the same room, so it's different in correcting someone's form. So I like to have a conversation about what we're doing today, how you should feel when we're doing it. And as we're doing it, I'm in that camera, I'm doing a little bit myself, but there's a lot of camaraderie going on. And even, give me a fist bump. And even at the end, I always tell people to zoom in on me while we're working out so they can see the form. So I'm a little bit bigger on their screen. And after we're done, it's beneficial that we all come together, change our gallery so we can all see each other and have our community time.
And people, we're getting comments, Jacquees, like Rocky, who's one of our regulars. Hi, Rocky. Loves small groups, and they Zoom at the same time for those that are more comfortable. So the small groups tend to be working, but also Cindy said, love the mention of community. Humans really do need people. Diana said, I'm doing personal training and classes through Zoom too. So it seems like it's interesting. Clubs are opening. Clubs are coming back. They're not at 100% yet, but they're getting back at 60%. Some club owners have noticed that Zoom has declined, but it seems like if you're an independent instructor on Zoom, it's maintaining then?
Yes, and actually, I have to get creative. It's not one size fits all. So I have challenge groups, and that's a whole nother dynamic. So there's so much that you can do. Zoom is amazing. And
what is the challenge group? That sounds interesting.
So it's called the five healthy habits. So that's goal setting, nutrition, movement, and there's two other ones, and they come up with their goals. And I don't come up with the goals, but they're based on those things: movement, nutrition, wellness, all of that. And then they pay me. We work, and I put videos out. They can come to classes on Zoom. Sometimes people don't. They don't have to. But it's working beautifully, and it's making a change, and it's this camaraderie again. They're in a private group on Facebook. So we have a lot of interaction there, and I'm always encouraging interaction because it's great in numbers. We work together better, and you celebrate your wins. You celebrate the opportunity areas, the things that are challenging.
And we're hearing like a lot of people, Cindy, Diane, of course, and Rodolfo coming in, hybrid classes for those participants that just aren't ready. And I've got to tell you, I think a lot of people will never be ready. There's going to be, I travel internationally, do a lot of workshops, etc., all over the world, and there are people all the time on the airplanes. This was years and years ago, constantly wearing masks. It was a little more accepted in Asian communities. And I think there's going to be individuals that are going to be doing it. On I think it's March 18th, they're doing away with masks being required on airplanes. But I think people are going to stick with that. I also think that these hybrid programs. Andrew, what are your thoughts on the hybrid programs? And I don't want to drift too far from cardio, but it's not just about jogging outside and walking outside. It's different ways to motivate our clients to maintain their fitness regimes.
Yeah, that's true. Now, not to be too much of a contrarian, but if my entire career had to be on the internet, I'd probably go back to being a carpenter at this point, because it's not as fulfilling to me to not be with people. Is one of the things I love Mania for so much is the spontaneous camaraderie and, again, novelty. I know through introspection that I thrive on novelty all the time, so I love it in lots of different ways. I do also know that my clients probably don't want to hold their phone and look at me while they run. So as much as cardio is healthy, and especially if they like to run, it's fun, I can prescribe that outside of exercise. I can include different types of cardio, whether it be like a low intensity intervals or circuit training when I'm doing things online. At the beginning of the pandemic, I had a lot of corporate clients. So I was consulting with Red Bull and Snapchat and other companies like that in LA. And the employee at Red Bull is exactly who you think the employee at Red Bull is, to the T. Whatever you're thinking right now, that's exactly what that person is.
Okay. They're in their very early 20s. They're very skinny.
Nailed it.
And they don't do anything. They sit and play. They sit on the computer.
Play video games. And they're all into action sports. So they're fit, but they're not as excited by me telling them to do things through the computer. So they want to be in groups, and they thrive on that. But there's other groups that thrived on I'll give you another example. Like we mentioned, I'm in school now as an older person, believe it or not, and I can't functionally be on campus all the time. I 100% for sure will learn better if I'm in class on campus, but I just can't functionally do it. So it's human for us to say screw it, but you have to make the effort and develop the habits, and people have to help me thrive as best as I can taking my classes on the computer. Even outside of the pandemic, I have to do that because I travel and work full time, and I'm almost there, so it's working. So.
That's good. That's good. I tend to be somewhat similar in that, well, you know what? I was going to say I want to go live. I like going live. But I'm telling you, I dig the Zoom webinars. I watch them, I listen to them. I love being able, the one thing we did do is we made our webinars available via podcast and also via Zoom. So, and that's because people like to do cardio and they like to drive to the gym and they're getting ready to teach or whatever and they want to listen. So I do think that that's important. Carter, would you do me a favor? Would you answer Terry's question? She took the online certification for active aging, and I can't remember. I thought it was 30 days for all the videos. It might be longer. Could you answer that for me? Sorry about that, guys. I like to keep our chat box going. But I also wonder, how do we program cardio properly for our clients? And Jeffrey, I'm going to go to you because I love the way you use text messages to respond to your clients. Like, I know sometimes they'll take a picture of a meal and send it to you, and then what do you send back to them?
I give them a thumbs up or I send a pig if it's not.
I love it.
2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds. But for me, like I said, I mean, I need to know virtual, by the way. I have my athletes club and I always film everything I teach live to my group, and my group numbers haven't changed at all. So I have to agree with all of you. People want what they want when they want it. And mine stays kind of in the library all the time. But for me, I think we do a ratio. It's funny, depending on what your format is, you have to do a portion of it being cardiovascular. But once again, we have to educate them that cardio doesn't mean that they have to be breathing and their heart rate is hitting them in the head. Cardio can be, and we have to teach them that breathing with their mouth, the heart rate's at 120. That's a fat burning zone. And, we just have to educate them along the way. I'll never forget, we all know in this room that the millennials I've ever known hit. And so if they didn't feel they got beat up and left in a parking lot and they lost their shoe, and if they lost 2 shoes, even better, they didn't have a workout. But we all know in this room that we have to bring in steady state and change things up. And I'll never forget having to bring in steady state. And I was not going to do a burpee. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose them all because I'm the guy that they wear their fit monitors and they blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh no. They burn more because it freaked their bodies out. They weren't used to it. I think as teachers, when you're not with me, I always recommend cardio, like I keep saying across the board, just because I think it's the safest thing they won't get hurt with. But I like to prescribe it and I like them to be accountable for it. I like them to tell me they've done it. I don't even care if it's walking your dog. I just need to know that you're doing it so the program is well rounded. I know we all know that.
Do not minimize walking your dog, okay?
I'll take it. I'll take that every time I can get it. Go shopping. I don't care. But I know that in this room, we all know what we prescribe for them when they're with us. And that's not even the food component. We then have to take care of movement. I mean, the food is a whole nother issue. And once again, you can get this or you can get a pig. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And Andrew, how do you program the cardio properly? Like, how do you make sure they do it? And I think a lot of us as trainers, what we do is we'll say, all right, I'm going to strength train you for 30 minutes. Because I can do a total body, really exhaust you in 30 minutes with strength training, with weights, with bands, etc. And then I want them to do the cardio on their own. I want them to show up at the gym 30 minutes before I'm there, do your cardio, and I'm going to look at them and I'm going to watch and I'm going to check on them even though I've got my other client. Do you do that? Does that work effectively, or what is your technique?
I do that, and it does. It seems to work. And sort of to Jeff's point, I'll prescribe simple, easy things that I perceive will be done outside of my sessions, and oftentimes that's cardio. I rarely prescribe a certain type of cardio aerobic activity. And currently, my personal training clients all are of a demographic where they're not doing anything intense at all anyway. So I'll ask them to do something, and then when I see them after the weekend, I ask for them to report. Of course, I try my best not to shame, but instead give positive feedback.
I think a little shame never hurt anyone.
It goes a long way, that's for sure, in lots of instances. There's another, by the way, another part of our art form where you really have to decide what type of person you're dealing with. Are you dealing with Johnny Steak Eater? Because he probably wants you to incentivize him with a little bit of shame. Are you dealing with the lady who lives across the street from me who hasn't worked out in 20 years? She's probably not looking for that. But whoever it is, they need to feel success in their approach. Whether they've practiced being successful a lot or not, they still need it to some degree. So I'll make sure I prescribe something that's simple, easy for them to do. You got to keep in mind that when you leave too broad of a spectrum, it creates opportunity to not finish the prescribed exercise. So give them something. Hey, try to do 2 things this weekend. Even something that simple will help to incentivize them to follow through. And that is important. Not to blow too much hot air up anybody's butt, but the best book I read last year was called Exercised by Lieberman. And he's a biological anthropologist. So he wrote a fantastic book about, he studies hunter-gatherer tribes and, of course, anthropological information. His essential outcome at the end of the book was all exercise is good. Make sure you do it. Make sure you strength train. Make sure you do cardio. However, all of our supposed ancestors and these hunter-gatherer tribes now do very, very low impact, drawn out movement throughout the day, and that provides a great return. So it doesn't have to be intense.
Nice. I saw, Jacquees, you were looking for something. Are you looking for a book back there?
Yeah, I was going to write that book down.
Yeah, we all do. I love this. Thank you, Andrew, for supplying that. I freak out here. We've got like minutes left. I am actually going to take a quick opportunity and show you guys what's going on at SCW. I think you know that we've got our wonderful, I'm going to stop sharing just for 1 second and come right back again. I want to make sure I'm sharing my sound so this works for all of you. We've got our Active Aging Summit coming up, and this is March 19th. We have well over 200 people registered for it's an online live stream and recorded conference. So this is really great. Take a peek here. And I'm really excited about it. We've got a ton of presenters. We've got over 30 presenters that are going to be live at the conference. They're coming in from all over the world. So I encourage you, we've got huge names, great people coming in, and I don't want you to miss any of them. So this is very exciting for us. We're also doing our wonderful California Mania convention. Yay, we're going live. We have been going, we went to Boston, we went to Dallas, we went to Chicago, we just left DC. We're going to San Francisco. Please join us. It's going to be really exciting. So this is fantastic. I'm really glad you guys were able to join us tonight. Thank you guys. You'll be getting an email because we're recording this, and you can either listen to it on podcast, share it with a friend, you can rewatch the recording, you can share it on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever works for you guys. And thank you again, Carter. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Jacques. Thank you, guys. Everybody, have a wonderful night.
Thank you.